so much for joining us today. My name is Martha Karumba. I'm the Associate Community at the Global Schools Forum, and I'm looking forward to hosting you today in conjunction with Rangeet during this spotlight session. So I'll just take you through the agenda. Yeah, so basically today what we want to do is I'll give an introduction to the Global Schools Forum and then an introduction to the session and the speakers. Then Rangeet will take over in their presentation as they share with us their model and what they're doing in terms of playful learning. And then we'll have a Q&A session and a wrap up in the next hour. Thank you for joining us. Please write your name, your organization, and where you're coming from in the world in the chat as we start off. And there's more people joining. I think I'll just start off and then just to save on time. Yeah, so about the Global Schools Forum, just for anyone who is not a member of the GSF community already or does not know about GSF, we are a catalytic community of non-state organizations, an innovation accelerator and a partnership builder working to improve education for undeserved children in low and middle income countries. And our vision is basically that all children, regardless of where they're coming from, can realize their potential through safe access to quality education. And in terms of our reach so far in our community, we are a membership of 117 organizations in 60 countries with a reach of 21.4 million children and about 241,000 schools, working in Latin America, Asia, and Africa as the three regions of focus for the Global Schools Forum. And in terms of our priority areas, we have three main priority areas. That is, we look to strengthen the global learning community. And what this means is basically some of these forums help us in deepening engagement and learning within the community. And this is a spotlight session where our member organizations get to share what they do, what their strength in, their expertise, together with other members as well as the general education stakeholders. We also test promising solutions and diffuse evidence through the Impact at Skills Lab. And basically, what we do is we support a number of organizations in a year where we select scalable and innovative solutions, giving them funding, as well as mentorship and coaching, depending on the theme of focus for that particular year. And we also have evidence hubs. We have an evidence hub on ECD in emergencies, which basically looks at the best practices within ECD and the emergency areas, whereby we are looking at organizations that are already working in emergencies and conflict areas and looking at what are they doing well and what can be done to ensure that there's safe access to education for children in those areas. We produce toolkits and case studies, and some of the toolkits that we have are toolkits on child safeguarding, for example, that are available on our website. And we also come up with scaling frameworks from the labs. And then the other thing we also do in terms of the three priority areas is we partner strategically to shape policy and scale solutions. So what this means is we are looking at what, as a non-state sector, how best can we align and work alongside the government to ensure that there is better policies and better interaction as well as partnerships with the government sector. And on this, we also have an evidence hub being led by a colleague of mine in the call today, where we look at partnerships with government. What are the best practices? What are the case studies? And how can we partner strategically with the government and ensure that there's better relationships between the government and the non-states? We also have different other three areas within the partnerships strategic priority areas. That this is finance for education fund, all hands on deck, as well as non-state regulation. And all these are looking at how can the non-state sector better align itself and strategically place itself to ensure that children who are not like children who are already in the low fee paying private schools are getting access to quality education safely. And inclusivity is involved in all this. So I'll also now today I'll be able to introduce Rangeet, who are the main hosts for this session. And Rangeet is a digital platform that looks at basically delivering and measuring the impact of teaching materials for schools, communities, and families. They have an amazing curricula and teaching resource known as SICK, which is Social, Emotional, and Ecological Knowledge. And basically, SICK uses active, playful teaching to prepare children for the challenges of the future. And they ensure that there's a wide breadth of skills, well-being, agency, and global stewardship for children aged 7 to 16 years. We'll be hearing more about this as they share with us. And it was interesting for me to know that Rangeet actually comes from Rang and Sangeet. And Rang means colors, Sangeet means song in Hindi. And it will be amazing to know how they basically deliver playful learning to the children in the different areas where they operate in. And I'll be introducing, we have three amazing people joining us today from Rangeet, and they'll be sharing more about the organization and what they do. We have Simran Mulchandani, who is the co-founder of Rangeet. He is responsible for building the next generation mobile apps, strategy, and vision at Rangeet. He's a member of the Learning Sciences Exchange Advisory Group, a member of the HB Features Council on Fourth Industrial Revolution Skills, and a director of Generation Blue, a company whose mission is to catalyze an earth-positive economy. Simran basically wants children of the future to be creative, crazy, and courageous risk takers. With Rangeet, he hopes to give every child an equitable education, preparing them to thrive in a rapidly changing world. Karishma, on the other hand, she's now the other co-founder of Rangeet. She says about herself, everything about herself in these words. School made me feel like an outsider because I didn't fit a mold. I'm consumed by how I can help others like me feel like they matter and belong, and help teachers who want to support such students rediscover why they became teachers to begin with. Through my lived experiences and hours spent with teachers in classrooms, I have led the development of Rangeet's SICK curriculum, aiming to include every child and giving them access to quality education. And finally, we have Srujana. She's a marketer with experience building national and regional marketing campaigns for the likes of Viacom and Tastemade. As someone who grew up politically apathetic, she now focuses on not just confronting her own privilege daily, but finding ways she can help pull society into a better future. And it all starts from education. I look forward to an amazing session, and I'll stop sharing my screen as we hear from Rangeet for the next 30 to 40 minutes. Thank you for joining us today. If you have any questions, please share this in the chat, but we'll be having a Q&A at the end of this as we get to hear more about Rangeet and what they're doing in their school. Srujana, you're most welcome.
Okay. Welcome everyone. We're so glad you could join us today. We have a fun session planned for everyone here. A word to the wise, we love activities and we're very eager for everyone to participate. But we do understand that not everyone is comfortable speaking publicly. So if you want to engage, you can raise your hand and we'll call on you, or you can drop your thoughts in the chat function and we will read them out. However, before we get to playful learning, let's take a quick moment to look at education from the eyes of a child.
Welcome to our classroom, where each of us can be ourselves because there's something here for everyone. My school nurtures my creativity as much as my friends' thinking, math, or science skills. We are encouraged to be mindful, grateful, courageous, and to look after our mental and physical health. Hi, I'm Sarah. I love to paint. Who doesn't like to get their hands dirty? But do you know what I love most? Football! I can take anyone on. Goal! Hey, why are you sitting alone? Come join us. Some of my friends don't like sports, but we make up for it by singing and dancing and listening to and learning about each other. The thing about having fun is we end up making a mess. Yikes. Come on, let's clean up. Let's see what goes where. I've been taught that each of us is responsible for our actions and that our actions have consequences. This planet isn't just ours alone. We share it with many beautiful beings, from the smallest microbe to the biggest blue whale. I know many children are worried about the future, and we need to be prepared for a future that will be different from the one that our caregivers experienced. But I'm not worried. I'm being taught skills that will help me meet all these challenges. I've been taught that I can take action and even collaborate with others to protect nature in all its wild and wondrous forms. But what if this isn't my classroom and my school doesn't teach me all of this?
We're solving the problems of a previous generation. Is maths useful if there are no animals left to count? We have inspiring language teachers, but what if there are no forests left to describe?
But with Rangeet, my school is preparing me for today and for the future. What future do you choose?
Thanks, Shrujna. Just give her a second to share the presentation. Okay, great.
Great.
So there's a beautiful Native American proverb that says, we do not inherit the earth from our ancestors, we borrow it from our children. Nature has no back office with an accountant handing out an invoice for every drop of water we drink or every tree we chop down. But if there was, we'd be paying a lot for the services that we're currently getting free. So with Earth Day around the corner, we invite the child and you to participate in a few games and activities which demonstrate just how valuable planet Earth is. I'm going to start by reading a short poem that you see on your screen. So every day in this world, a choice we make to give back to planet Earth or just take. Footprints in the sand get washed away by the sea, but carbon prints stay on this Earth for eternity. Our carbon footprints can destroy Mother Earth, global warming, climate change, disrespecting her worth. But there's so much we can do. Let me give you a hint. It's all the good we do under our carbon handprint. So whilst most textbooks are simply black letters staring back at children, at Rangeet, we want to ensure that children enter a colorful world filled with poetry, stories, games, experiments, and craft activities, where the desired outcome isn't a score on 100, rather knowledge of how to care for their mental and physical health, the importance of kindness and empathy, and how to love, respect, and protect nature and all the wild and wondrous beings that we share this planet with. Okay, so let's move on to an activity. So how many of you know what it means to be Earth positive and Earth negative? When we give more to Earth than we take from it, your behavior is Earth positive. For example, carpooling to school or taking public transport to work or shopping intentionally and sustainably rather than indiscriminately. It's easy to be Earth positive. All it requires are small changes. The opposite of this is being Earth negative, which is when you take more from Earth than you give to it. For example, wasting water, contributing to land pollution by not throwing away waste correctly, or not recycling waste. So the activity you see on your screen right now is an adaptation of an activity conducted in a Rangeet class to help teach the concepts of Earth positive and Earth negative to the children. So here's how we'll do this today. Please use your Zoom's hand raise feature and we'll call out your name. Then pick out one activity and tell us if you think it's Earth positive or Earth negative. Okay, so maybe we can start with noise pollution. Can anyone tell me if they think it is positive or negative? And remember, you're a child, not an adult. Anyone? Do you want to put it in the chat box? There we go. Negative. That's right. Okay, cool. Drinking from plastic bottles. Negative. Okay, there we go. How about planting trees? I think that's fairly obvious. Positive. Okay. Shopping a lot. Remember, I spoke about shopping sustainably and intentionally. That's negative. There we go. Picking up garbage from the beach. Positive. There we go. Construction. Oh, someone sometimes positive and sometimes is that for construction? I guess that's true. So maybe Shujna, we could leave both on the screen. Recycling paper and cloth. Positive. There we go. Factories emitting smoke. Negative. There we go. Okay. Collecting rainwater to water the plants. Positive. Turning off tap water while brushing teeth. Positive. Chopping trees. Negative. Throwing garbage on the ground. Negative, that's right. Using both sides of a piece of paper. Positive. Cycling short distances. It's positive. Playing with water. Negative. And finally, turning off lights when you leave the room. That's right, positive. Okay, so the major cause of anxiety around climate is a lack of agency. Children hear the prevailing negative narrative and feel helpless. Rangeet's social, emotional, and ecological knowledge, or SEEK curriculum, doesn't only focus on what the problem is, rather on how everyone can take action on climate, thus developing agency. So this activity in particular helps develop a language around taking action. Okay, next slide. So here's an example of an original game from our Earth Positive module called Hidden Culprits. At first glance, this looks like an environmentally safe and friendly neighborhood. However, there are 14 Earth negative culprits lurking around that are contributing to pollution and climate change. Humans are primary cause of Earth's changing and increasingly unpredictable climate. And the Hidden Culprits game helps teachers to explain these concepts to children in an easy, fun way, while allowing them to feel empowered that their own actions can help. So here's what we're going to do. We'll work together once again to find the Earth negative culprits by volunteering our suggestions, and then talk about what could replace these culprits to make the neighborhood more Earth positive. You can raise your hands using the Zoom features or drop your suggestions in the chat box, and my colleague Shrujana will outline the culprits we found together in red. Who'd like to go first? What culprit do you see? And remember, there are 14. Factories, that's right. Anyone else seeing culprits? Deforestation. Street lights on during the day. What else? Transport. Perhaps right in front, there's a girl traveling alone in a car, as opposed to perhaps carpooling if possible. 1 second, I'm going through the chats to see what everyone's saying. Putting waste in the water, that's correct. Again, dumping waste in the lake, says Rudraksh, correct. Pesticides on the tree. Littering, garbage on the ground, that's right, next to the garbage cans. Pesticides being sprayed, we've done. Throwing garbage, yes, yeah, what else? How many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have a few more. Dripping tap, excellent. Someone hasn't turned off the tap. Construction. Any more that we can think of, or see rather? Yes, running with music on loudspeaker, that's right. How about the lady with all the bags? Yeah, that's a lot of shopping. And right at the back, oh, burning the garbage, that's right, burning. Is there something top right that you perhaps see? Top left, my apologies, top left. Melting ice caps. Okay, so cool. So it's very important that teachers assure the children that as worrying as the effects of global warming sound, there is a lot we can do to help the situation. Could you maybe give me one or two suggestions on how these earth negative culprits could be converted to earth positive? For example, turning off the tap would be an easy start. What else? Yes, the guy running with loud music could use headphones, absolutely. Use natural fertilizers instead of chemical sprays, collection of garbage in the lake, carpooling, more trash cans so people can throw trash in the bins, recycling, plant more trees. Excellent. These are all incredible ideas. So now imagine that you're a little child in a classroom and suddenly you realize, okay, I see some of these things in my neighborhood, but here's the stuff that I can do. Cool. So maybe we move on, Shrujna. Okay, so now Simran, Shrujna, and I are going to read a little story. So The Social Life of Trees is a 5-part series that takes children on a walk through the forest with Treacher, Miss Juniper, and her talking saplings, where they meet Miss Hub, a mother tree, who explains the importance of respecting old trees in part 1. In part 2, Mr. Shiitake and his fungi friends explain the symbiotic relationship between trees and mushrooms. They wake up at dawn to meet tomatoes, Scarlet and Redmond, who demonstrate how they communicate through fragrance in part 3. In part 4, Mix Rapide, a gender non-conforming sloth, travels all the way from Central America to show them his green fur, the power of ecosystems and biodiversity. And finally, in part 5, children work with Miss Juniper and her saplings to understand what they can do to protect their future. So let's visit Scarlet and Redmond at the tomato farm and learn how tomatoes communicate. Good morning, saplings. I know it's early, but we have a long way to go before we reach the tomato farm. Let's go.
Oh, Miss Juniper, Maple isn't here yet.
She'll catch up, Spruce.
Wait for me. We're here. I see tomatoes.
Hello, Scarlet. Thank you so much for inviting us to your farm.
Hello, Miss Scarlet. Hello, Miss Scarlet.
Hello, Juniper. Hello, saplings. Welcome.
Whoa, look at all the tomatoes.
Let's begin our tour. Who wants to take a peek inside the greenhouse? Watch your head, Juniper. Welcome to our greenhouse. Isn't it lovely? A greenhouse creates an artificial environment by careful control of temperature, light, humidity, air quality, soil moisture, and heat levels. This is really important to nurture the baby tomatoes you see on either side. I'd like to introduce you to my husband. He knows everything there is to know about us and spends all his time tending to the baby tomatoes. Where is he? He's always got his nose buried in the plants. Redmond, where are you?
Oh, hello, my dear. Here I am. Welcome to our farm, Juniper and saplings. There's so much to learn about tomatoes. Gather round and let's get started. Tomatoes, much like everything in nature, are remarkable. Like you, We communicate too, but through fragrance. When we're attacked, we release a toxin along with a cloud of fragrances to warn our friends and neighbors that danger is afoot. This helps them prepare a defense. Here's an anecdote you might enjoy. The fragrance we release is called methyl jasmonate, which is used by humans to make perfumes. When they come to our farm for research projects, they are requested not to use perfume because the methyl jasmonate in their perfumes confuses us and makes us think we're always in danger.
Whoa, that's cool. No way.
Scientists and researchers conducted an experiment where they injured one tomato plant within a network of tomato plants. This was done with the use of a pathogen like a virus or bacteria or an insect, like this slug here. Not only did the plant know it was being attacked, but it also knew who was attacking it. And how did the tomato plant know that a slug was attacking it? We can identify our enemies through their saliva. The tomato plant immediately produced a fragrance that attracted flies and beetles who love eating slugs and helped in destroying the tomato plant's enemy. If a caterpillar were attacking it, the tomato plant would have produced a different fragrance to attack the caterpillar's enemy. That's so smart, even if I may say so myself. As you learned, mushrooms or fungi play an important role in plant nutrition and soil health, but they also act like a communication channel. The tomato plant communicates details of the attack through the fungal or mycelium networks to neighboring tomato plants. On receiving the signal that the plants are being attacked, the tomato plants understand the message, regulate their defense to combat the enemy. This makes the neighboring tomato plants more resistant to attacks because they are forewarned. Before we end our tour, I'd like to show you one more thing. You must have seen this beautiful field on your way in here. Tomatoes grow as vines or bushes. The tomatoes in the greenhouse grow on vines. These tomatoes here are growing on bushes. Did you know that whilst most people think of us as vegetables, we're actually a fruit? Fruits have seeds, and so do we.
We cannot thank you enough, Redmond and Scarlett, for the wonderful day spent with you. We better make our way back before the sun sets. Goodbye, juniper and saplings.
Goodbye.
Thank you for visiting us. We hope you come again. Okay, so very quickly, what did you learn from this story? Prior to this, did you know that tomatoes communicate through fragrance? Maybe some of you can tell us in the chat box. Did anyone know that tomatoes, communicate through fragrance? So Tejaswini says, the only thing I knew is that they were a fruit. Everything else was brand new information. So yeah, so as you can see, most people didn't know that. And I guess it's so important for children to understand that, humans are not the only ones, they're not the only species that communicate. Plants and trees communicate. We may not hear them, we may not see them, but they really do communicate. And they live together. And isn't that incredible? If we could learn how to live in communities, irrespective of species or races, and sort of work together. Yeah,
Karishma,
so there you go.
may I add something, Karishma?
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, so I just wanted to add to what Karishma is saying, and also what we've been trying to communicate through some of these activities, that really nature is magical. And the way we get children and the way we educate children through Rangeet is really to create this connection, because we're going to protect what we love, right? And so by creating this magic about nature, by exposing children to this magic, that's the heart of how we can make those connections and create that love and the desire to protect Mother Earth and our systems.
Great. Thank you. Okay, so now, considering we've spent so much time together talking about our ecological systems and our role in impacting the world around us, how about we all take a pledge? So each person can volunteer a single pledge, and my colleague Shujna will add these to our friend, the Pledge Hog. Maybe to kick this off, I'll go first. I pledge to buy local as far as possible in order to reduce my carbon footprint, which in turn supports homegrown companies as well. Who would like to go next? Anyone? You can put your comments in the chat box, and Shujna will quickly copy paste as many as she can. I know she'll have a bit of a tough time getting all of them on there. So any other pledges?
I'll go first.
Any pledges anyone would like to share?
There's
So,
some chat.
yeah.
Deborah says,
Go ahead,
yeah.
Simran. Yeah.
No, go ahead.
I pledge to turn off lights when I leave the room. I get into a lot of trouble from my husband on this one. That's great. So Grace says, I pledge to deposit plastic and all the best way. Yes. Meg says to turn off water when I'm brushing my teeth and soaping my hands. Yes. Dylan says, I pledge to use water more responsibly. Nidhi says, I pledge to plant more trees. Yes. Chinarad says, pledge to avoid plastic carry bags. Yes. Nelly says, I pledge to shop responsibly. Rudraksh, I pledge to drive responsibly and not to honk unnecessarily. That's a great one. Mercy says, I pledge to shop sustainably. I didn't know before that it's a negative action. And Seema says, I try to reduce plastic waste. Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone, for your pledges. Oh, Renisha says, plan my errands so that I do as many as possible and use less petrol. Excellent. Parvati says, I pledge to reduce plastic. Amit says, I pledge to use less water and to stop letting the water run when washing hands or dishes. Yes, very good one. Leah, reduce or reuse plastic items. Bella says, avoid burning in garden. Yes. Manish, I pledge to use cycle. I pledge to use the cycle on my Sundays. That's a great one. Okay, cool. So in the classroom setting, if possible, we suggest that the Pledge Hog chart is printed out, and the teacher has the students stick little strips of paper, almost like his thorns. Then it should be left up in the class so that the children can be reminded of their pledges and add more pledges as and when they learn things. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed the games, stories, and poems and can see how easy it is to teach seemingly serious topics like climate change through play-based learning. Rangeet has developed a digital platform and curriculum that does all this. Our SEEK curriculum is designed around the UN SDGs and connects the common strand of empathy for self with those around us in our societies and to all life on Earth in our ecological systems. And our hope is that this connection will drive a change in our relationship with each other and the planet. So as you can see, currently each of our umbrellas has 3 modules. And to explain very quickly, our self umbrella gives children permission and explains the importance of being empathetic towards oneself. We can only look after those around us and by extension, the planet, if we respect our own bodies, minds, and rights. We encourage children to understand their emotions and the tools they have to control them, to cultivate positive emotions such as gratitude and empathy, and understand the beauty in perceived failure. It builds courage and resilience. To learn the value of physical and mental health, we equip them with tools to identify and cope with mental health issues in themselves or those around them, and very importantly, to ask for help, that there is no shame in asking for help. And finally, we ask them to use their voice for those who may not have as loud a voice as theirs. For example, the elderly, people with disabilities, animals, so on and so forth. Our society umbrella rests on the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And we help children recognize It's all about perspective and putting yourself in someone else's shoes. If you don't want something being done to you, chances are the other person doesn't either. By learning empathy, we will hopefully be kinder to and more forgiving of each other. And children learn to accept diversity as a strength. Through the ecology umbrella, our hope is that children understand the value of nature. Nature has no back office with an accountant handing out invoices for every drop of water we drink. And so, as I mentioned earlier, our ecosystem services are priceless. Every living creature, from the tiny bee to a big blue whale, has value, and we must learn to respect and protect all life on Earth. So based on the latest in international learning science, OUP and Rangeet, OUP is Oxford University Press, and Rangeet have developed an activity-based well-being curriculum for grades 1 through 8 called My Happiness and Me. Our aim was to create easy, fun, and effective activities for children to learn about the importance of looking after themselves, their societies, and all life on Earth. So here are some examples of the pages from the theme Nature is Beautiful. As you can see, there's again poetry, there are worksheets, there are stories, and activities that help children understand the beauty of nature. Simran, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. You can hear me now, right? So the world has changed, but in large pockets around the world, education has not. Borrowing from a famous fable to illustrate this point, Rip Van Winkle, a fictional Dutch-American villager in colonial America, meets mysterious Dutchman and falls asleep. I don't know what he was doing. He wakes up 20 years later to a changed world and has missed the American Revolution. Imagine if he went to sleep in the year 2000 and woke up today. He'd recognize nothing of this changed world except for the school. Because in the last 20 years, how we shop, how we buy food, how we travel, how we consume content, everything has changed. But by and large, schools have remained the same. The Brookings Institution says that 800 million children across the world will not have the skills to thrive in this rapidly changing world by 2030. There's a dearth of curriculums, training, and resources to address these problems. We've witnessed COVID-inflicted setbacks, a rise of mental health issues, political and racial disharmony, wars, climate change. We're going to see dislocations in the job market, thanks to technologies like artificial intelligence. These are daunting issues to unpack for a child and their support system. And this is where Rangeet comes in. Inspired by cutting-edge work by Dr. Kathy Hirsch-Pasek and her team from the Brookings Institution and Temple, Seek uses our mobile front end, develops a breadth of skills using the 6 C's, which are communication, collaboration, content, critical thinking, creative innovation, and confidence. The curriculum, backed by real-time data gathered from classroom, helps teachers develop literacy in any language on the pathway to agency and well-being. Rangeet has had the distinguished honor of being recognized by global education leaders like the Brookings Institution. In October 2020, we've been recognized as a leader in active play-based methodologies. We have invested this experience, for example, in developing the My Happiness and Me series, which Karishma spoke about. And in November 2022, we've been recognized as one of the top 3 education technology platforms in the world by Brookings. We've also been recognized as a best practice for implementing the UN Sustainable Development Goals by the UN themselves, as well as by the Jacobs Foundation of Switzerland and 100.org of Finland. Till date, we've worked in 7 Indian states and Bangladesh, and are now spreading to 19 states in 2024 and countries abroad like the Middle East and Nepal. One of our greatest joys is that children and teachers love our program. Almost unanimously, teachers express that Rangeet helps them improve their own well-being and pedagogical methods, as well as the classroom environment, student well-being, and agency. So borrowing from author Thomas Friedman, In 2020, President Barack Obama addressed America's high school graduating class, in which he acknowledged that the world is in a precarious place. And if it's going to get better, it's going to be up to the children. He conceded that being one of the old guard who got us here to begin with, it wasn't for him to tell the younger generation what to do. It was becoming increasingly clear that the old ways of operating didn't work and that we need a change. Us humans decided not to cooperate with one another or demonstrate empathy towards one another. We decided to discriminate on the color of skin, religion, sexuality, language. We decided to invade pristine ecosystems, hunt wildlife, bringing viruses ever closer to us, making ourselves vulnerable. Where we are today was not inevitable. It was about poor choices and poor values. It's becoming increasingly clear that empathy, compassion, climate change, well-being, anxiety, and depression are all interconnected. A very wise friend from the world of education said to me, if we want to change the way we treat ourselves, we need to change education. If we want to change the way we treat others, we need to change education. If we want to change the way we treat the planet, our home, we need to change education. And that's the big lesson here. As the world gets more deeply interconnected, everyone's behavior, the values that each of us bring into this interdependent world matters more than ever. And that's the golden rule. And it's never been more important. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Because more people in more places, in more ways, on more days, can now do unto you and you unto them like never before. Thank you.
Thank you so much to the Rangeet team. This was very amazing as we, celebrate and thank them for the wonderful presentation. We can use our reactions to basically express how we feel. And as we do that, we have 10 minutes of questions. If you have any question that you'd like to ask the team, feel free to let us know. You can unmute yourself or use the chat function. That was well done, Simran, Srijana, and Karishma.
Thank
Do
you.
you have any questions?
I have a question.
Hi, Meg.
Hi, thank you guys. Those are some really cool activities. I like the pledge hog a lot. It's a good pun. I mean, I guess the biggest question is just, how do we gain access to this curriculum? If this is something that we're interested in implementing in our schools, what's the next step?
Sure. Meg, hi, this is Simran. So yeah, we can, you could go to the App Store or the Play Store, download the app. It's available there for free with a limited set of lessons. And then if you're interested in actually implementing the entire curriculum in your school and also get access to the resources that teachers can use in all classrooms, because essentially what we have is a whole set, a dynamic set of activities that teachers can search for. So for example, if a teacher is looking to develop collaboration skills in a EVS class, or is looking to address anxiety or anxiety around climate change, we have a search function that allows teachers to pull up activities and then use what seems most appropriate for their classroom. So you can go to the App Store and Play Store, download, have a play, and then maybe get in touch with us. Our coordinates are on the are on one of the slides. But maybe one of my team can stick it on the chat function. Send us an email, and we'd be delighted to connect. And I'm happy to share my personal email, to connect further about this, Meg.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much.
First, I would just have a bit of a play with the app. That would be lovely.
Yeah, cool. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yes, Mansi, I have a question.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is Eve from DRC. I work for UGFI, which is a non-profit organization intervening in Congo, DRC, and South Sudan.
Okay.
I really appreciated the way you presented and how you adapted your resources to be available in a way that is very comprehensive. Thank you for that. So
Thank
I
you
have a
very much.
question. As long as we are intervening in a context where we have challenges like accessing to internet, we have no electricity, how these resources can be available to children who are underserved with these challenges. Don't we have resources that are not digital that can be, for example, printed and be available in context like those I have already said? Thank you.
Eve, thank you. That's a great question. Karishma, do you want to take that question?
I'll let you take it, but I just want to clarify one thing in case it wasn't clear. The app sits in the hands of the teacher.
Yeah.
Only. It's not in the hands of a child. So we don't ask children to have phones. We don't want to encourage more screen time. The app just sits in the hands of the teacher, who then goes through the curriculum and delivers it to the children. That's all I wanted to clarify. Simran, you can.
No, that's right. That's right. I'm sorry that if that wasn't clear. This is an app that sits with the teachers. And Eve, right, essentially to your point, we've designed this through working with teachers in India and Bangladesh in some of the lowest resource settings. So we've tried to understand their problems. And one of them was it's unrealistic to expect to put devices in the hands of children. The resource requirements are just too huge. So this was designed as an app for teachers because honestly, the teacher is the centerpiece of every classroom. No matter how far technology goes, no matter how far we go with AI, children need that human teacher. And so what we're doing is empowering that teacher with wonderful lesson plans and ways to bring every classroom alive. And that's why we have that search function, for example. Now, to your specific point, our app works offline. So, and it works, and obviously being a mobile device, it doesn't need electricity all the time. So now that's not to say that we don't need any electricity and we don't need any internet. We need internet. We need electricity to charge a mobile device. So once in a while, and we need internet to download lessons. So in effect, the teacher, and we train teachers to do this. The teacher downloads the lesson when they have internet. They go into the field. They do their teaching. They even collect data. All of that happens on an offline mode, and then they come back into a connected state and can download fresh lessons and sync up the data they've collected to the cloud. So, if to your point, yes, it doesn't substitute paper in that it needs internet once in a while and it needs electricity once in a while. However, it really works, and we've tested this out in multiple settings. It works beautifully in very low resource settings.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. I think Chinaraj, you had a question. How are you, Chinaraj? Nice to see you.
See you. Nice to see you. And Simran and Karishma. Congratulations in first place, because you've gone a long way, since we talked some 2 years or 2.5 years ago. That's what I think was the COVID time.
Yes, that's right.
So my only question is that have you made any attempt to translate the lessons and the curriculum into any other Indian languages, including Tamil? I think we talked about it at one point.
Yeah. So we've got our entire curriculum translated into Hindi. We have the lessons. We have some translated into Marathi, some Bengali. But Chinaraj, it's really about demand, right? So if we have someone who wants Tamil or Kannada, in fact, there is a client right now we're talking to who is looking for our entire curriculum to be translated into Kannada. So if there is a need, we will work with we will work with the teams and do the translation. And there are multiple ways of doing it. I have one of my colleagues is here, Rudraksh, who's actually, responsible for quality assurance within Rangeet. And so he would actually sit and work with, our clients and really get that translation done. And I'm sure you appreciate more than just translation, which is important. We also need to contextualize it so that the children
That's
are
right.
seeing this, right? So both are crucially important, and we're well aware of this. I'll give you an anecdote. When we had our entire society umbrella translated into Bengali, but then we were also teaching in Bangladesh. And even though it's considered a similar language, the context is massively different. And the way the way you depict a teacher is different. The way you sort of think about discrimination is different. Who is a minority in Bangladesh and who's a minority in India, that's different. And so it's not enough to just translate something, but you have to spend the time making sure that the words are understood, the context is understood. Even I'll give you one more anecdote. We were working in Rajasthan, and we took the English word cactus and translated it into Hindi, just as phonetically. And the kids didn't understand that because the word cactus doesn't exist in Rajasthan. So there are all of these things you have to take into account, and we're very alive to that. And we love to work with partners who want to do this in a very thorough way.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Are there
There are
any
a number
questions
of
on the chat?
questions in the chat. Yeah, so I think can read them out and answer. Yeah.
Renisha and I have been responding to most of them. I don't know if we've missed any.
Yeah, so we talked about the app being accessible offline. We talked about the name of the app, the search function. We've talked about the activities being in an animated motion or just pictures. So there's a whole host of activities. There's games, stories, role play, poems. And today we tried to give you a flavor for, the range of activities we have. And I mean, something like the social life of trees. We read it out, but imagine putting this in the hands of a classroom and developing children's language skills while they're developing their knowledge, love for nature. So that's the whole point. The whole point is what are the positive externalities? How do we develop a child's language skills or their collaboration skills, their confidence? I read out in a class today. One of the teachers in Dehradun told us, there's some role play activities, and they said to us, "I didn't know that my kids could act." These are amazing things for a teacher to learn. The app is available. Yeah. Go ahead.
Also, the teachers, as Simran mentioned, their pedagogical skills improve. For example, we have stories and the teachers decided on their own to make little puppet figures. And instead of just reading the stories as we had written and illustrated them, they created puppets of the characters and sort of jumped around the class and asked kids to take part and enact. So that was really cool because it wasn't something that we even asked them to do, but they sort of decided that would be a cool way because now they've understood how they can teach through playful methods.
Thank you for answering the questions, very detailed. And as we come to a close, I wanted us to just put our cameras on if possible, wherever you are. We'll be taking a screen grab just to see your beautiful faces. It will be nice to get a smile as well. Srujan, I think we can stop sharing for a minute. It will be nice to see your beautiful faces and get a smile at it as well. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for putting the cameras on. More faces. Thank you so much. Justine, I hope you've gotten that. Yes, and as we finish up as well, the Rangeet team, we are very, very grateful for the amazing presentation and the very interactive session as well. I'm sure you've had a lot of fun just doing this. And for anyone who's just willing to, who wants to reach out to them or to bring fun in their classrooms, we'll be sharing their contacts in the chat in a few minutes. And also, I want to just launch a poll to get your feedback on how you think the session was done. Did you get any lessons out of it? What would you like us to do different as we move forward? And how can we engage you better as a community as we move ahead? So I'll be launching this. Please fill it in. And we'll be sharing Rangeet's contacts on the chat right away.
I have launched the poll. Please just take a minute to fill this out and give us your feedback.
If you can't find the poll, please let us know.
While everyone is doing that, on behalf of the Rangeet team, I wanted to thank GSF for inviting us. This has been such an honor. I want to thank everyone for joining us as well, everyone who's attended. And yeah, it's been wonderful. Thank you for being such a great audience. And Mercy, thanks so much. I think you were, while we've been preparing for this, Mercy has been so wonderful in terms of really understanding and being alive to the different cultures that are here and trying to understand us, how we say our names, what the name of our company, Rangeet, means. And her curiosity is really what it is, something we need to all aspire to be, to really be curious about others and treat each other well and our planet. So thanks so much, Mercy, and all the team at GSF.
Thank you so much,
Yes,
Simran,
thank you very much.
Yes, for your kind words. We are always happy to showcase what you're doing, to learn more about how you work and where you work and the communities and societies you're working in. So it was amazing getting to know what Rangeet is up to, and we're always happy to showcase what our community is doing at all times. And as we look forward to celebrating the World Earth Day on the 22nd, that is next week, please make sure you're practicing the positive actions you've been taught. At least look for one action that you can start working on. And in your organizations, how can you ensure that there is agency with the children you're working with? How can you ensure that there is better ecological knowledge? How can we ensure there's playful learning? Basically, let this lesson not go to waste, but let's utilize it in our organization after this. And we're happy to hear from you. Reach out to us on email, reach out to Rangeet if you want to introduce some of these things in your organizations, and they're happy to support. So I can see about 11 of us have participated in the poll. That's amazing. Thank you so much. I don't know if we have any quick feedback in the next minute, and if not, we'll just finish this session today. All right. Thank you so much, everybody, and have yourselves a wonderful day ahead.
Thank you.
Or evening.